So, we've navigated the labyrinth, cured our curse, and faced our anxieties in the depths. And we're still alive and kicking on the other side. We've talked about that suffocating feeling of being lost, trapped, and completely stuck in the dark. You probably thought, like I once did when I first played Dark Souls, that opening the doors at the end of the depths would lead us to some relief. That maybe we would get to experience that breath of fresh air we were lacking in the dark. Instead, we are dropped even further below the world, below the sewers, and into the legendary and utterly abysmal, forgotten underbelly of Lordran. The name itself inspires dread in anyone who's made it this far, and rightfully so. If the depths was about the anxiety of feeling stuck, this next area is about the crushing weight of our environment, the dizzying heights, the toxic swamp, and the slow, exhausting trudge of Burnout. And if you played the original game on old hardware, an incredible frame rate drop as well there. It left you feeling unresponsive to the dangers you will inevitably face down here. If you thought the depths was bad, we've just crossed the threshold into hell. Welcome to Blighttown. Before we even get to see the enormity and the full scope of Blighttown, before we even realize the multitude of dangers that are about to engulf us, we first notice the height. Walking along rickety wooden walkways that seem to rot and creak underneath our every step, suspended over a dark, looming abyss. Every step is a risk. The wrong press of a button, the wrong camera angle, and we are sent back to the beginning. Not to mention these first couple of trolls that take up most of our space here on the wooden planks. All it takes is one bash from their clubs, and we're bound to fall. And then there are the toxic blow dart snipers. They hit you completely out of nowhere from across the map, like a sudden bit of bad news when you're already struggling, instantly filling your toxic panic and easily knocking you off balance. This is a new type of fear we haven't touched upon yet in this world. It's a specific kind of stress, high-stakes anxiety that makes everything around you seem unstable. Whether you're diving into something new or barely keeping your head above water, the ground beneath you feels like it can give way at any moment. It's the pressure of feeling like you can't make a single mistake, because if you do, you'll fall. And the fall is just too far. Before we even reach the poison, the fear of falling is enough to make many people stop and give up. Blighttown is often the biggest hurdle for new players, and I've lost many characters here. This is where I actually stopped my first playthrough, because losing all the progress I had made felt easier than moving forward on my journey. I felt like one wrong step and I was doomed to spend forever up here on the rafters. And I think we've all been there, scared of falling and losing what we have, especially when it's something we love. Whether it's a job we don't think we're experienced enough for, or the pressures of money in our society, or even feeling like the wrong words can ruin a relationship. We often find ourselves on our own wooden beams, facing a drop too far for us to cope with. I felt this especially last year when I broke up with my ex. It felt like the world was crumbling around me. The fall from where I was felt immeasurable. I'd have to move out, potentially back home to my parents, and that would mean leaving my job in the city. Everything I'd tried to build up over the last few years would just fail and fall into the abyss. But me and my ex, we both knew it was necessary. And for that, I can be really thankful. In some ways, I was forced to jump and see where I landed. And for anyone wondering, both me and her are in much better places now. You know, we're still friends. And not having the pressure of a relationship has, in turn, strengthened our friendship. So looking back, the jump was scary, and I didn't know where I was going to end up. But it was needed to better find a place for myself and move forward. I decided to stay in the city, keep my job, and move into the house share I'm talking to you from right now. And although I was now alone and far from family and friends, I've managed to build my life back up. And you know, I do feel lost and confused sometimes, but I can be proud of myself for taking the jump and sticking the landing. The same can be said for my little bakery business. I could barely stay afloat, and I often felt like I was drowning or walking along that one bastard wooden beam that moves down here in Blighttown. Pressure can have an awful effect on us, and sometimes the best path is not to just give up, but to move forward. And even if we do fall, we can't fall forever. Even if it's just to the last bonfire, it's a nice place to rest and recuperate before trying again. Life doesn't just end when we get vertigo and our foot slips and we're sent somewhere unknown. As always, the "you died" screen is just another opportunity to learn and come back stronger the next time. I remember when I did break up with my ex, I rang my dad and he told me about the many times he's fallen in his life, the uncertainty it causes, and how, despite everything, he's exactly where he's at now because of those moments life let him slip. And through this one simple conversation, you know, I realized that everyone gets these feelings and stresses. Everyone falls from time to time, and all we can do in those moments is wait until we land and keep going. So let's keep pushing forward past this little shanty town on stilts. And even if we do fall, let's get back up and try again. Now, I can only touch on the lag a little here, as I'm playing on the remastered version currently, so it really isn't an issue for me right now. But if you ever played on the Xbox 360, you will remember. And even if you haven't, you know, you might have heard the drop to 15 frames per second that fucked so many of us over. The legacy of the lag may never die, you know. It sometimes feels like it was a feature. And as we move to the middle sections of the cursed Blighttown, the action used to get so choppy, it often felt like it was unplayable. You could see the overwhelming amount of enemies barreling towards you, and even though you wanted to move, even though you pressed all the right buttons, the system just wouldn't let you. And I feel that quite often in my own life. When pressure is too high, and I know what to do, but I just can't do it. My brain leaves me unresponsive and at the mercy of these enemies around me. And I think anyone struggling with anxiety can relate to that lag of the brain. The latency just isn't right, and you struggle to say or do what's needed of you to survive. And sometimes that's when I'm just talking to someone or writing a script, or when I'm under a lot of pressure at work. Sometimes it's just getting performance anxiety when you're trying to go for a wee and someone uses the urinal next to you. And I'm going to be honest, I don't really have a solution for this one. Not saying that I have the solution to any of life's problems, really, but I can say that it's tough and a difficult thing to experience. Sometimes you just need a moment to chill and recompose yourself. A glass of water maybe, or a little rest. And although resetting didn't work in the original game, For now, let's just pretend it does. And let me know in the comments how you deal with mental lag. I could use a few pointers. Now, a large part of Blighttown is up here on the rickety wooden planks, praying you're not sent back to your last bonfire. But eventually, after moving through the city on stilts, facing it off against some slightly more demonic enemies and pushing past those disgusting blows dart guys, you find yourself down here at the bottom. We've survived the drops and the panic, and we found a quiet stone tunnel at the bottom of this swamp that contains our salvation, the next bonfire. This feels like the most earned reprieve in the entire game. I'm certain millions of people have entered this little tunnel full of anxiety, just feeling really fucked up or just dying of poison, only to feel all that slip away as the bonfire revealed itself, finally safe in the midst of the scariest and most inhospitable place in Lordran. It's a crucial reminder that no matter how terrifying the drop was, or how unstable everything felt on the way down here, there is always a place where you can just sit down, rest, and regroup. A place you can spend those hard-earned souls, if you have any left, and just relax, even if only for a moment. It can be hard when you're surrounded by perils to remember to breathe, so this is just a small reminder that it's okay to take a second to breathe from time to time, especially before we step out into what's next. Because the moment you step out of that tunnel, the safety of that bonfire, you're really in the muck. The swamp in the remastered version has a sort of beautiful yet miserable look and feel to it. From your first steps in the mud, you quickly realize this place was not made for you. You begin to walk at half speed, you feel slow, and slowly that poison meter rises, and it fills you with dread. Once you become poisoned by the very ground you trudge through, and you start seeing your health slowly trickle away over time, the real fear sinks in. This place was designed to kill you. This is what Burnout looks like. It's not a sudden crisis, like the curse of self-doubt in the depths. You can survive here for a while, and you probably will, but that slow, quiet drain down to zero, that's truly evil. Even with high resistances and plenty of moss to cure your poison, if you spend too much time down here, you will die. And from down here, the swamp just feels endless. It stretches out far in every direction, and if it wasn't for the light leading you to the intended path, you'd inevitably lose your way and your souls down here. We all find ourselves in toxic environments, whether it's a bad job, a tough situation, or even just a negative mindset. They sap us of our energy while we are just trying to move forward, and they bring us down with them. You can feel like you're doing everything right, but the environment itself is weighing you down, making every step feel harder than the last, making it feel like you're moving further away from the safety of your bonfire. And personally, I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. But sadly, it's become all too common in our society. No matter where you live in the world, it can be difficult to escape burnout. And although it's not good, of me to place blame, I truly believe it's jobs that don't reward us mentally or financially. It's social pressure, and it's our constant comparisons to others over the internet. I tend to burn out every couple of years, to be honest. I like to work hard. I really enjoy working hard, and I find myself pushing myself too far all the time. My bakery business took up all of my time, and the financial pressure fucked me up for a while. Later, I worked at a small cafe in the city, and everyone there just seemed to hate me without any clear reason. And I only survived a month, but these toxic people took me through a world of hell I just couldn't handle at the time. And even as recently as this winter, I took too many hours at my current job. I worked as much as I could, and I tried to maintain that for months. My legs still sometimes ache, and it just pushed me into a weird headspace I knew I had to break out of. I know now the importance of rest and comfort. On my days off, I try to just do what I enjoy, and I try not to work too many hours or surround myself with toxic people. It's just tiny things like that have broken my little burnout curse for the time being, and it'll hopefully help me, be more aware of it happening in the future. We don't have to stay in this toxic swamp forever, and it's important to remember that when you feel like you're lost in the swamp, look for that guiding light towards the next objective, and run as fast as you can to it. We can come back later to farm for large titanite shards, but for now, it's important we move on to our next challenge. Quelaag is the final confrontation and our conclusion to Blighttown. She can be intimidating, but we've already beaten larger, more imposing bosses than her, so maybe I'll die once or twice, more than likely. But I know by now that after that awful descent down here into the spider's nest, that I can face these monstrous creatures and be triumphant. Here's the thing about Blighttown. It does end. You don't stay on the rafters or down in the swamps forever. You find the courage to face these seemingly insurmountable obstacles, ring that second bell, and climb back to the light. Life can feel exactly like this place sometimes. A dizzying drop followed by a slow, toxic trudge. But you're allowed to find your pockets of peace along the way, your bonfires. You can take it one step at a time and keep moving forward. Eventually, you'll get to breathe fresh air again. I've been through Blighttown many, many times now, both in-game and in my life, and many of you will too. It's a natural stage of life that can happen to anyone at any time, but just because it's daunting and frustrating and easy to lose hope down here, it doesn't mean you have to stay down here forever. Remember, my friends, that this swamp, it doesn't define you. The fact you walked back out again does. You're going to be okay. This has been a little bit of a long one, but thank you all for watching. And a massive thank you to the now 50 subscribers we have in my little covenant. It really it means the world to me that my words can resonate with so many people. It just shows me that we aren't really alone when we struggle. But, our journey through Lordran isn't over yet. Now that we've rang the second bell, the gates have opened to Sen's fortress. A cold, mechanical gauntlet of swinging blades and crushing traps. Next time, we're going to talk about navigating the systems in life that try to test us, break us, and grind us down. Don't you dare go hollow. Love you lots, and bye-bye.